Hello there, and welcome to 100 Facts Before Sleep. Tonight, we drift into the ancient and extraordinary world of the human heart, the deep rhythm of our planet, written in the pulse of every living creature. Long before the first thoughts were formed or eyes had opened, the heart was already alive, beating in the silence. It found its rhythm. It drove our evolution. It connected all life in a single, vast, and silent pulse. The quiet, steady beat within your chest is ancient beyond imagination. And yet, it is still moving, still adapting, still sustaining. This is the story of the heart. A story of resilience and power, of intricate design and relentless endurance, of a beauty that is measured in a lifetime of beats. Within every pulse, there are whispers of ancient oceans, shared ancestors, and the first simple cells that learn to move. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here, too, one sleepy soul at a time. For now, just breathe. Let your eyes grow heavy, and let the ancient, steady rhythm of your own heart cradle your thoughts. Let's begin. The heart is not just a simple pump. It is an intricate, self-sustaining marvel, a muscular engine that will, on average, beat more than 3 billion times in a lifetime, all without a single conscious command from you. Here we begin, with the first 10 sleepy truths of the human heart. Fact 1. Your heart is its own orchestra. It possesses its own electrical system, completely independent of the brain. This system is called the cardiac conduction system. Deep within the heart's upper right chamber, there is a tiny cluster of specialized cells known as the sinoatrial node, or the pacemaker. This node generates its own electrical impulse, a silent spark that travels through the heart muscle, telling it when to contract in a perfect, rhythmic cascade. This is why a heart, even if separated from the body, can continue to beat for a short time if it is given the oxygen and nutrients it needs. It is a testament to its profound autonomy, a built-in rhythm of life that doesn't need to be told what to do. Fact 2. The sound of your heartbeat is not the sound of muscle contracting. That steady, familiar lub-dub you hear is the sound of valves. It is a gentle, percussive sound made by the heart's 4 gates opening and closing. The first sound, the lub, is the sound of the tricuspid and mitral valves closing as the heart pushes blood out to the lungs and body. The second, softer sound, the dub, is the sound of the aortic and pulmonary valves closing as the heart rests for a moment, refilling for the next beat. It is the sound of doors opening and closing, a marvel of hydraulic engineering, keeping the river of life flowing in one direction. Fact 3. Your heart works harder than any other muscle in your body. In fact, it is the most powerful muscle you possess. Over the course of a single day, your heart will generate enough energy to drive a truck for 20 miles. Over a lifetime, that's enough energy to drive to the moon and back. This relentless work happens in the background, a quiet furnace of metabolic power that never asks for a rest, tirelessly performing a feat of endurance that no other muscle, not even your legs or your jaw, could ever hope to match. Fact 4. The heart has a skeleton. While we think of it as a purely muscular organ, the heart is built around a firm, flexible structure made of fibrous connective tissue. This is known as the cardiac skeleton. This structure is not bone, but it is just as vital. It provides the heart with its shape, prevents the valves from being overstretched, and, most importantly, it acts as an electrical insulator. It separates the electrical signals of the upper chambers, the atria, from the lower chambers, the ventricles, ensuring that the lub-dub rhythm remains coordinated and doesn't dissolve into chaos. It is the silent framework that gives the heart its strength. Fact 5. Your heart is not where you think it is. We are often taught to place our hand over the left side of our chest to feel our heart, but this is a gentle misconception. Your heart is actually located almost in the very center of your chest, nestled securely between your 2 lungs in a space called the mediastinum. The reason we feel it on the left is because the heart is tilted. Its strongest and largest chamber, the left ventricle, which does the heavy work of pumping blood to the entire body, is angled toward the left, and its powerful contraction is what we feel most prominently. Fact 6. A woman's heart beats in a slightly different rhythm than a man's. On average, the heart of an adult female beats about 78 times per minute, while the heart of an adult male beats around 70 times per minute. This difference is largely due to the fact that, On average, a woman's heart is slightly smaller and lighter. To move the same amount of blood through the body, it must beat a little more frequently, a subtle variation in the universal rhythm of life, a quiet and steady difference in its pace. Fact 7. The heart is the very first organ to function. The heart begins its life not as a complex chamber, but as a simple, tiny tube. And in the quiet darkness of the womb, this tube begins to twitch and pulse. The heart starts to beat as early as 3 to 4 weeks after conception, long before there is a brain to send it signals or eyes to see the world. It is the first spark of autonomous life, the rhythmic foundation upon which the rest of the body is built. It establishes its beat, and from that first pulse, it never stops. Fact 8. Your heart pumps a truly staggering amount of blood. Each and every minute, your heart pumps about 1.5 gallons of blood, which is the entire volume of blood in your body. Over a single day, this adds up to over 2,000 gallons. That blood travels through a vast, silent network of vessels, arteries, capillaries, and veins. If you were to take all these vessels and lay them end to end, they would stretch over 60,000 miles, enough to circle the entire Earth more than twice. Your heart quietly services this immense kingdom with every beat. Fact 11. The human heart is remarkably small for the job it does. In a fully grown adult, the heart is roughly the size of 2 hands clasped together, or about the size of your own clenched fist. It typically weighs between 10 and 12 ounces, which is less than a pound. This small, compact engine is a masterpiece of biological engineering, packing an immense amount of power into a very modest, protected space, proving that true strength is not a matter of size, but of endurance and design. Fact 12. Laughter is a physical balm for your heart. When you experience a genuine, hearty laugh, it triggers a cascade of healthy physical responses. The lining of your blood vessels, known as the endothelium, relaxes and expands. This allows blood to flow more freely and reduces blood pressure. This effect is the opposite of what happens during stress, when the vessels constrict. A good laugh is a form of internal jogging, a gentle, joyful exercise that soothes your cardiovascular system and momentarily lightens its immense load. Fact 13. Your heart has a left and a right side, but they are not equal. The heart is 2 pumps working in perfect synchrony. The right side of your heart is responsible for collecting the dark, oxygen-poor blood from your body and gently pumping it a very short distance to the lungs to be refreshed. The left side has a much more demanding job. It collects the bright, oxygen-rich blood from the lungs and must pump it with tremendous force to every other part of your body, from the tips of your toes to the crown of your head. Because of this, the muscle wall of the left ventricle is up to 6 times thicker and more powerful than the right. Fact 14. The heart can mend itself, but only to a point. Unlike your skin, which can heal without a trace, or your liver, which can regenerate, the heart muscle is different. When cardiac muscle cells are damaged, such as during a heart attack, they do not regrow. Instead, the body heals the area by forming scar tissue. This scar tissue is strong, but it is not muscle. It cannot contract or help the heart pump. This is why protecting the heart is so vital, as the damage it sustains is permanent. It is a resilient organ, but it remembers its wounds. Fact 15. The broken heart is a real medical condition. A sudden, intense emotional shock, such as the loss of a loved one, a profound betrayal, or extreme fear, can flood the body with stress hormones. This massive surge can temporarily stun the heart muscle, causing the main pumping chamber, the left ventricle, to suddenly weaken and change shape. This condition is called Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, or broken heart syndrome. While it often mimics the symptoms of a heart attack, it is a different process, and in most cases, the heart can fully recover with time and care. It is a powerful, physical reminder of the profound and mysterious link between our deepest emotions and our physical health. Fact 16. Your heart is in a constant, flowing dance with your breath. This gentle, rhythmic connection is called respiratory sinus arrhythmia. When you inhale, your chest expands, slightly reducing the pressure on your heart and causing your blood to flow back a little slower. Your heart speeds up its beat to compensate. When you exhale, the pressure returns to normal, and your heart slows down again. This is a sign of a healthy, responsive heart. You can feel this yourself, a slow, deep breath in, and the pulse quickens, a long, slow breath out, and the pulse calms. It is a perfect, quiet synchrony. Fact 17. The heart is not red. While we associate the heart with the color of Valentine's and the blood it pumps, the organ itself is not a bright, uniform red. The living, beating heart muscle is a deep, complex shade of brownish red, similar to a piece of steak or liver. It is covered in a protective layer, the pericardium, and streaked with the pale, fatty tissues that provide it with energy, and the branching, delicate roots of the coronary arteries themselves. It is an organ of deep, earthy, functional color. Fact 18. More heart attacks occur on a Monday morning than at any other time. This unsettling pattern has been observed for decades. Scientists believe it is a perfect storm of factors. The stress of returning to work, the sudden shift in your sleep cycle from the weekend, and the surge of stress hormones like cortisol that naturally peak in the early morning all combine to put extra strain on the heart. It is a quiet reminder of how deeply our work, our stress, and our internal body clocks are intertwined. Fact 19. The vast majority of your blood is not in your heart. At any given moment, your heart, the central pump, holds only about 5% of your body's total blood supply. The rest of the blood is out on its journey. About 60% of it is moving slowly through the vast, branching network of your veins, making its way back. About 15% is in your arteries, being pushed to its destination, and another 5% is in the tiny, microscopic capillaries, delivering its precious cargo of oxygen and nutrients to every individual cell. The heart is the quiet, central station for a system that is always in motion. Fact 20. Your heart creates an energy field that can be measured several feet away from your body. The heart's electrical activity is incredibly powerful, about 60 times greater in amplitude than the electrical activity of the brain. This creates a measurable electromagnetic field, known as a toroidal field, that radiates out from your chest in all directions. Using sensitive instruments called magnetometers, scientists can detect this field from up to 3 feet away. This field of energy subtly changes with our emotions, broadcasting our inner state to the space around us in a language without words. Fact 21. The heart has a favorite fuel. While the body can burn carbohydrates and proteins for energy, the heart muscle has a strong preference. It runs most efficiently on fatty acids, the fats we consume in our diet. The heart is a metabolic powerhouse, consuming a huge amount of energy, and these fats provide a dense, steady, and reliable source of fuel for its relentless, lifelong marathon. It is constantly sifting through the blood, pulling out these specific nutrients to keep its furnace burning. Fact 22. Blood is not red when it's inside your body. Or rather, it is always red. There is a common myth that blood inside your veins is blue, and it only turns red when it hits the oxygen in the air. This is a gentle fiction. Blood is dark red when it's oxygen poor, in the veins, and bright cherry red when it's oxygen-rich, in the arteries. The reason your veins appear blue through your skin is simply a trick of light. The skin and fat tissue scatter the red light, while the blue light is reflected back to your eye. The river within is, and always will be, a deep crimson. Fact 23. The heart doesn't lift blood, it wrings it. The heart muscle is not a simple bag that squeezes. It is a complex, spiraling arrangement of muscle fibers. When the heart beats, it doesn't just contract inward, it twists. The ventricles wring themselves out, like twisting a wet towel, to eject the blood with maximum force and efficiency. This sophisticated, helical motion is one of the most efficient ways to move fluid, a design perfected by nature over hundreds of millions of years. Fact 24. Your heart is a time traveler. The atoms that make up your heart are ancient, but the cells themselves are surprisingly young. For a long time, it was believed that heart muscle cells were with you for life. But recent research has shown that the heart has a very slow, very limited ability to regenerate. It is estimated that we replace our heart cells at a rate of about 1% per year when we are young, with the rate slowing as we age. This means that even in adulthood, a portion of your heart is not the same one you were born with, but a slowly, quietly renewed version of itself. Fact 25. The heart is protected by its own water blanket. The heart does not sit directly against the other organs. It is enclosed in a tough, two-layered sac called the pericardium. Between these two layers is a tiny, paper-thin space that contains a small, slippery amount of pericardial fluid. This fluid acts as a natural lubricant, allowing the heart to beat and twist and move 100,000 times a day, without creating any friction against the surrounding lungs. It is a silent, frictionless engine, protected in its own private, fluid-filled chamber. Fact 26. The heart can taste the blood that flows through it. This sounds strange, but it is true. Recent discoveries have found that the heart, much like the tongue, has receptors for bitter tastes. These receptors are not for flavor, but for sensing specific chemicals in the bloodstream. It is believed they act as a primitive defense mechanism. If the heart detects certain bitter compounds, which can be a sign of toxins or infections, it can trigger a change in its function to protect itself. It is another layer of the heart's hidden intelligence. Fact 27. A single heartbeat is a wave of pure calcium. The electrical impulse from the pacemaker node is just the trigger. The action of the muscle contraction is all thanks to a tiny ion, calcium. When the electrical signal flashes across a heart cell, it opens special gateways that allow calcium ions to rush into the cell. This flood of calcium is what physically causes the muscle fibers to latch onto each other and pull, creating the powerful squeeze of a heartbeat. Then, just as quickly, the cell pumps the calcium back out, and the muscle relaxes. Every beat of your heart is a microscopic, lightning-fast wave of calcium, washing in and out. Fact 28. The lub-dub rhythm has a third, hidden sound. In young, healthy people, and sometimes in athletes, there is a third, very faint heart sound that can be heard with a stethoscope. It comes just after the dub and sounds like a very low-pitched thud. This third heart sound is perfectly normal and is believed to be the sound of blood rushing into the ventricle and gently vibrating the chamber walls as it fills. It is a quiet, resonant echo of a healthy, supple heart, a sound that usually fades as we age. Fact 29th. Your heart doesn't just pump blood, it pumps information. The heart is also an endocrine organ, which means it produces and releases its own hormones. When the heart feels that it is being stretched by high blood pressure, it releases hormones that travel to the kidneys and blood vessels, telling them to relax and to excrete excess salt and water. This, in turn, lowers the blood pressure. Your heart is not just a passive pump, it is an active, intelligent part of a vast feedback loop, communicating with other organs to keep the entire system in a state of quiet, balanced harmony. Fact 30. Your heart rate is a window into your past and your future. The time between your heartbeats is not perfectly regular. It changes with every breath. This subtle, healthy variation is called heart rate variability, or HRV. A high HRV, meaning your heart rate is very adaptable and flexible, is a sign of a healthy, resilient nervous system. A low HRV, where the beat is more rigid like a metronome, is often a sign of stress, fatigue, or illness. By measuring this tiny, quiet rhythm, we can see a clear picture of the body's hidden stress levels, a story told in the milliseconds between each beat. Fact 31. Cancer of the heart is incredibly rare. While other organs are susceptible, primary heart cancer is almost unheard of. The reason is beautifully simple. Heart cells, or cardiomyocytes, do not divide. From the time you are just a few weeks old, you have almost all the heart cells you will ever have. Cancer, at its core, is a disease of uncontrolled cell division. Because the heart cells have stopped dividing, they are profoundly resistant to this chaotic process. The heart is a post-mitotic organ, a finished masterpiece that has no need to replicate itself, only to endure. Fact 32. The heart of an unborn baby beats at a breathtaking pace. In the sanctuary of the womb, the fetal heart rate can be as high as 160 to 180 beats per minute. This rapid, fluttering pulse is necessary to move oxygen and nutrients through a tiny, rapidly developing body. It is a temporary, frantic rhythm that, as the baby grows, will gradually calm and settle, slowing down as it prepares to find its new, steady pace in the world outside. Fact 33. The heart's electrical story is written on paper. The electrocardiogram, or EKG, is a perfect and simple window into the heart's hidden world. Those familiar peaks and valleys are not measuring blood flow or muscle movement directly. They are a tracing of the heart's electrical journey. The EKG reads the tiny, precise electrical impulses as they travel from the pacemaker, through the upper chambers, and down into the lower chambers. That simple, rhythmic line is the voice of the heart's little brain, a story of its conduction and its health, told in a language of pure electricity. Fact 34. The heart's skeleton is also its shield. The fibrous cardiac skeleton does more than just hold the heart's shape. It is a non-conductive barrier. This is crucial, as it forces the electrical signal from the pacemaker to travel down a single, specific pathway. It prevents the electrical spark from spilling randomly from the top chambers to the bottom. It is an electrical gatekeeper, ensuring the lub and the dub happen in perfect, isolated sequence, maintaining order with every single beat. Fact 35. The heart is a deep, dark red because it is filled with its own oxygen. The heart muscle is packed with a special protein called myoglobin. This protein is a close relative of hemoglobin in the blood, but its job is not to transport oxygen, but to store it. It holds onto oxygen, creating a private reserve. This stored oxygen is what gives the heart muscle its deep, brownish-red color and, more importantly, it's what allows the heart to keep beating for a few crucial moments if its own blood supply is briefly interrupted. It is the heart's own hidden breath. Fact 36. The largest heart in the world belongs to the blue whale, and it is a marvel of scale. A blue whale's heart can be the size of a small car and weigh over 1,000 pounds. Its main artery, the aorta, is so large that a small child could crawl through it. And yet, this colossal engine beats with a slow, profound, and powerful rhythm, sometimes as slowly as 5 or 6 times per minute, a deep, resonant thump that echoes through the ocean, a dramatic contrast to the rapid pulse of the tiniest shrew. Fact 37. The heart's wires are faster than its muscle. The heart's electrical signal must travel instantly to every cell. To do this, it uses a network of specialized fibers called Purkinje fibers. These are not muscle cells, they are conduction cells, a biological wiring system. They can transmit the electrical impulse at a speed up to 6 times faster than a regular muscle cell, ensuring that the entire ventricle contracts at the exact same millisecond, creating a single, powerful, unified ringing motion. Fact 38. Your blood pressure is the story of 2 numbers. You hear them as systolic and diastolic. These are simply the heart's 2 states of being. The systolic number, the higher one, is the pressure in your arteries at the exact moment the heart contracts, systole. It is the peak force. The diastolic number, the lower one, is the pressure in your arteries when the heart is at rest, diastole, refilling with blood. It is the background, resting tone of your entire system. Together, these 2 numbers form a quiet snapshot of the heart's effort and its ease. Fact 39. The heart-lung connection is a perfect, closed loop. The heart and lungs are truly a single, inseparable system. The right side of the heart pumps blood only to the lungs. The lungs refresh this blood and send it only to the left side of the heart. This tiny, private loop is the pulmonary circuit. Every other part of your body, your brain, your bones, your skin, is part of the much larger systemic circuit. This 2-circuit system is a marvel of efficiency, ensuring that the blood is reoxygenated on every single pass, without fail. Fact 40. The heart valves are miracles of simple, passive design. They are not muscles. They do not decide to open or close. They are simply flaps of tissue, like tiny, perfect parachutes or saloon doors, that are pushed open by the pressure of blood behind them and are snapped shut when the pressure reverses. Their entire function is passive, moved by the very fluid they control. It is a design of utter simplicity and perfect reliability, ensuring that the river of life never flows backward. Fact 41. A heart murmur is just the sound of a whisper. In a perfectly smooth system, blood flow is silent. A heart murmur is a sound, a gentle whoosh or swish, that a doctor can hear between the lub-dub. This sound is not a disease in itself, but simply the sound of turbulent blood flow. It's the sound of blood moving past a stiff valve or flowing through a tiny, unusual opening. It is, quite literally, the sound of a small eddy or ripple in the river. Fact 42. The heart does not just get tired, it gets chaotic. A heart attack is a plumbing problem, a blockage in an artery, but a cardiac arrest is an electrical problem. The most common cause is called ventricular fibrillation. This is when the heart's electrical system descends into pure chaos. Instead of a single, unified beat, the heart cells all fire randomly, causing the muscle to just quiver or fibrillate like a bag of worms. It stops pumping. A defibrillator is not a restart button, it is a reset. It sends one massive, overwhelming electrical shock to silence all the cells at once, hoping that in that quiet, the heart's natural pacemaker will be the first to speak and re-establish its calm, orderly rhythm. Fact 43. When you are in space, your heart changes shape. In the weightlessness of zero gravity, your heart no longer has to pump blood uphill against Earth's pull. The fluids in your body redistribute, and your heart, no longer fighting gravity, gently becomes more spherical, more rounded. It also, finding the job easier, tends to shrink slightly in muscle mass, just as your legs do when you don't walk. It is an organ that perfectly and quietly adapts to the forces upon it. Fact 44. Your heart is in a constant, direct conversation with your emotions. This connection is made by a long, wandering nerve called the vagus nerve. This nerve connects your brainstem directly to your heart. When you feel calm, safe, or compassionate, your brain sends signals down this nerve, telling your heart to slow down, to beat more calmly. When you are frightened or angry, the signal is dampened, allowing the heart to race. It is the physical, neurological wire that tethers your thoughts to your pulse. Fact 45. The heart's own food supply is separate from the blood it pumps. The heart is filled with blood, yet it cannot draw any nutrition from it. That blood is moving too fast and is contained within the chambers. The heart muscle is fed by its own tiny, dedicated arteries, the coronary arteries, which branch off the aorta and wrap around the heart's outer surface. These are the arteries that, when blocked, cause a heart attack. The heart, while serving the entire body, must first feed itself. Fact 46. The heart's lub-dub has a silent, invisible partner. While the heart valves make the sounds we can hear, there is a fourth heart sound that can almost never be heard, even with a stethoscope. It is the sound of the atria, the small upper chambers, giving a final, gentle kick to push the last bit of blood into the ventricles. It is a sound so soft, so low in frequency, that it is usually only visible as a tiny, quiet flicker on a high-tech ultrasound. It is the heart's final, silent preparatory push. Fact 47. The heart and the kidneys are in a constant, quiet dialogue about water. The heart is a master of pressure, but the kidneys are the masters of volume. The kidneys constantly monitor the blood, deciding how much water to keep and how much to release. If the heart feels the pressure is too high, it sends hormones to the kidneys, as we've learned. In return, the kidneys control the very volume and thickness of the blood the heart must pump. They are two organs working in a continuous, silent partnership to maintain the body's perfect, fluid balance. Fact 48. The pacemaker is not a single point, but a team. The sinoatrial node is the heart's primary pacemaker, but the heart is a redundant, resilient system. It has backups. If the primary node fails, another cluster of cells, the atrioventricular AV node, is programmed to take over, beating at a slower, steadier 40 to 60 beats per minute. And if that fails, the ventricle fibers themselves can generate their own impulse, a slow, deep, emergency rhythm of 20 to 40 beats per minute. The heart has a cascade of command, a plan B and a plan C, to ensure the beat, no matter what, goes on. Fact 49. Your heart-brain can learn and remember. The 40,000 neurons in the heart are not just for simple reflexes. Research suggests this little brain can store memories. This is most evident in the phenomenon of cellular memory reported by some heart transplant recipients, who describe inheriting new, unexplained preferences or feelings from their donor. While this is still a new field of study, it points to the heart as an organ of deep, intuitive wisdom, one that processes our experience in a way we are only just beginning to understand. Fact 50. The heart's final act is one of peace. When a person dies, the heart does not always stop all at once. As the body systems shut down, the heart's electrical network often goes through a slow, orderly, and calm progression. The pacemaker node may fail, then the backup node, then the final ventricular rhythm. It is a slow, gentle deceleration, a final, fading pulse. The heart, which began its journey with a single, autonomous spark, ends it in a quiet, gradual, and peaceful return to silence. Fact 51. The heart can hear the sounds of the body. While we hear the lub-dub with our ears, the heart itself is a finely tuned sensory organ. It is constantly responding to the vibrations and pressures of the world around it. The heart can sense the vibrations of your own voice, the percussive impact of your feet as you walk, and the deep, resonant frequencies of music. These vibrations travel through the body as pressure waves, and the heart, a fluid-filled chamber, subtly adjusts its rhythm in response to this physical, acoustic information. Fact 52. The heart is a marvel of fluid dynamics. To move blood through 60,000 miles of vessels, it needs to be incredibly efficient. The heart achieves this with a spiraling, twisting motion. But it also gets help from the blood vessels themselves. The aorta, the body's largest artery, is not a rigid pipe. It is highly elastic. When the heart pumps, the aorta stretches like a balloon, absorbing the initial, powerful surge. Then, as the heart rests, the aorta's elastic walls gently recoil, giving the blood a second, passive push. This second heartbeat smooths out the blood flow, ensuring a steady, gentle stream instead of a series of pulsing, damaging jolts. Fact 53. The heart is one of the few places in the body that is immunoprivileged. This means it is partially shielded from the body's own powerful immune system. This is a vital protection. If the immune system were to fully and aggressively attack an infection inside the heart muscle, the resulting inflammation and damage from our own defenses could be catastrophic to the beating cells. The heart, therefore, exists in a state of delicate truce, a protected sanctuary where the body's own soldiers must tread very carefully. Fact 54. The beat is not a command, but a consensus. The pacemaker, the sinoatrial node, is not a single cell acting as a dictator. It is a cluster of thousands of cells, all firing at slightly different rhythms. They communicate with each other, and through a process of synchronization, they agree on a single, unified beat. It is a democratic rhythm, a constant, instantaneous consensus that is then broadcast to the rest of the heart. The rhythm of your heart is the rhythm of a perfectly synchronized community. Fact 55. Your heart rate does not just predict your health, it predicts your thoughts. Our minds are constantly wandering, but in the moments just before your mind is about to drift off task, your heart gives a subtle clue. Researchers have found that a few moments before a person's focus wanes, their heart rate variability, HRV, changes. It is as if the heart, through its connection with the nervous system, registers the shift in your mental state before your conscious mind even does. Your pulse is a quiet prelude to your own thoughts. Fact 56. The heart is built with its own private safety valves. If the pressure inside the heart's chambers were to become dangerously high, there is a risk of catastrophic failure. To prevent this, the heart has several small, hidden, natural bypasses. One of these is a tiny, flap-like opening between the two upper chambers, a remnant from our time in the womb, which can, in some cases, be pushed open to release the dangerous pressure. It is a biological pressure relief valve, a hidden emergency exit designed to protect the system from overwhelming itself. Fact 57. The heart's ringing motion is so efficient, it leaves almost no blood behind. A healthy heart is not like a squeeze bulb that just pushes out some of the fluid. With each powerful, twisting beat, the left ventricle ejects about 60% of the blood it contains. This is known as the ejection fraction. It doesn't empty completely, it leaves a small, healthy reserve. But this high-efficiency ring-out ensures that with every single beat, the body is serviced with the maximum possible amount of fresh, oxygenated blood. Fact 58. The heart is a record of our ancient, aquatic past. The very first hearts were simple tubes in filter-feeding creatures, designed to move water, not blood. Our own heart's electrical system is a beautiful echo of this. The electrical signal of our heartbeat is entirely dependent on a precise, salty balance of ions, sodium, potassium, and calcium, washing in and out of the cells. Your heart is, in essence, a tiny, internal ocean, and the rhythm of your life is created by the ebb and flow of these ancient, salty tides. Fact 59. Your heart's pacemaker cells are unique because they are never truly at rest. Almost every other cell in your body, like a nerve or a muscle cell, has a stable, resting state. It waits patiently for a signal to arrive. But the cells in the sinoatrial node have what is called a leaky membrane. They are constantly, slowly, and automatically drifting towards their own trigger point. They reach it, they fire, and the moment they reset, they im. Fact 61. When you are deeply asleep, your heart rests with you. During the phases of deep, non-REM sleep, your entire body enters a state of profound restoration. Your breathing becomes slow and regular, your muscles relax, and your brain's activity calms. In this state, your heart rate slows down, reaching its lowest point of the entire 24-hour cycle. Your blood pressure also gently falls. This nightly descent into a slower, steadier rhythm is a vital form of rest for the cardiovascular system, a time of quiet repair and conservation of energy, allowing the heart to recharge for the day to come. Fact 62. The heart is formed by a process of elegant folding. In the very first weeks of life, the heart is not a complex, four-chambered organ. It begins as two simple, separate tubes. These tubes then move to the center of the tiny embryo and fuse together, forming a single, primitive heart tube. But this tube is too long for the tiny space it's in. And so, in a beautiful and complex feat of biological origami, this tube begins to twist, loop, and fold in upon itself, gradually partitioning into the four chambers that we know. Its complex final form is the result of a simple, elegant fold. Fact 63. The heart has its own, private drainage system. We know the coronary arteries feed the heart muscle, but what about the used blood? This oxygen-poor blood is collected by a network of tiny cardiac veins. These veins all drain into one large vessel on the back of the heart, known as the coronary sinus. This sinus is a wide, quiet river that collects all the heart's own metabolic waste and gently, silently empties it back into the heart's right atrium, where it is mixed with the rest of the body's blood to be sent, once more, to the lungs. Fact 64. The heart's valves are built for a lifetime of perfect, silent work. The four valves of your heart will open and close over 100,000 times a day. That is over 3 billion times in a lifetime. They are made of incredibly thin, yet remarkably tough leaflets of fibrous tissue. They are designed to be so perfectly smooth and light that they are moved by the passing current of blood, yet so strong that they can withstand the immense, relentless pressure of the heart's contraction, year after year, decade after decade, without tearing, fatiguing, or failing. Fact 65. Your resting heart rate is a story of efficiency. When you are calm and at rest, the number of times your heart beats per minute is a powerful indicator of its health. A lower resting heart rate, often seen in athletes, does not mean the heart is weak. It means it is strong. It means the heart muscle is so powerful and its contractions so efficient that it can pump the same amount of blood to the body in fewer beats. It is the sign of an engine that is perfectly tuned, doing the same amount of work with less effort. Fact 66. The EKG, or heart tracing, is not one signal, but one story told from 12 different views. When a doctor performs a 12-lead EKG, they are not measuring 12 different things. They are placing 12 cameras in different positions around the chest. Each one is looking at the exact same electrical impulse, the exact same heartbeat, but from a different angle. This allows a doctor to see the heart's electrical journey from the front, from the side, and from below, creating a complete, three-dimensional map of its rhythm and its health. Fact 67. The heart is deeply sensitive to your body's temperature. It is a finely tuned instrument that helps manage your internal climate. When your body gets too hot, your heart beats faster and more forcefully, pumping blood to the surface of your skin to release heat into the air. When you are cold, the heart's job is to protect your vital core. It slows its beat slightly, and the blood vessels in your hands and feet constrict, pulling that warm blood away from the surface and keeping it deep inside, where it can protect your brain, your organs, and the heart itself. Fact 68. The top chambers of your heart give a final, precisely timed kick. For most of the heart's filling phase, blood just flows passively from the upper chambers, the atria, down into the lower chambers, the ventricles. But just before the ventricles are about to pump, the atria give one final, gentle, muscular squeeze. This is known as the atrial kick. It serves to push the last 20% of blood into the ventricles, topping them off to ensure the heart is as full and as efficient as possible for the big contraction that is to come. Fact 66. Your heart has a cardiac reserve. This is the heart's hidden, extra capacity, its ability to rise to a challenge. At rest, your heart may be pumping 1.5 gallons of blood per minute. But when you begin to exercise, or if you are frightened, your brain sends a signal for the heart to engage its reserves. A healthy heart can instantly increase its output by 4, 5, or even 6 times, dramatically increasing its speed and the force of its beat to meet the body's sudden demand for oxygen. This reserve is your heart's hidden power, which it holds back, in quiet, until the moment you truly need it. Fact 70. The heart's entire cycle is defined by a single moment of perfect silence. There is a brief, quiet pause in every heartbeat. It happens just after the dub sound, when the aortic and pulmonary valves have closed, and just before the mitral and tricuspid valves have opened. For a fraction of a second, all 4 valves are closed. The heart has finished pumping and has not yet begun to fill. This is the moment of isovolumetric relaxation. It is the heart's deepest point of rest, a fleeting, silent, peaceful stillness that it achieves between every single beat. Fact 71. The heart is not just a pump, it is a suction pump. When the ventricles contract and wring out the blood, they don't just relax passively. The muscle fibers actively and rapidly spring back to their original shape. This rapid expansion creates a moment of negative pressure, a gentle vacuum. This vacuum actively pulls blood from the atria above, sucking it down into the ventricles. The heart doesn't just wait to be filled, it actively draws the next beat towards it. Fact 72. Your heart is a physical record of your life. Every beat of your heart is a response to your life's events. When you are stressed, it beats faster. When you are calm, it slows. Chronic stress, joy, grief, and exercise all leave their subtle marks on the heart muscle itself, strengthening it or straining it. A doctor can look at the heart and see the story of a life of athletic endurance, or a life of quiet, persistent stress. It is a living diary, written in muscle and rhythm. Fact 73. The heart's lub-dub is a sound of 2 distinct places. The lub sound, the closing of the mitral and tricuspid valves, is best heard at the apex, or the bottom left tip of the heart. The dub sound, the closing of the aortic and pulmonary valves, is best heard at the base, the top of the heart where the great arteries leave. A doctor will move the stethoscope around your chest, listening to these 2 sounds in their 2 different homes to understand the whole story. Fact 74. The heart is, in a way, 2 hearts fused together. An old heart and a new heart. The right side of the heart, which pumps blood to the lungs, is the older design, similar to the hearts of amphibians and reptiles. The left side, the powerful, high-pressure pump for the whole body, is a newer evolutionary marvel, one that allowed mammals to become the warm-blooded, active creatures we are. Your heart is a living fossil, a perfect fusion of our ancient and modern selves. Fact 75. The heart is almost entirely made of muscle and fat. It has no bones, no cartilage, and very few rigid structures. The cardiac skeleton itself is made of dense, fibrous tissue, not bone. This makes the heart a supremely flexible and resilient organ. It can be compressed during CPR, it can be gently moved aside by surgeons, and it can change its shape in response to gravity, all while never, ever stopping its beat. Fact 76. The heart's rhythm is born from a single, tiny point of light. If you were to look at the heart's pacemaker, the sinoatrial node, with highly sensitive imaging, you would see a tiny, pinprick of light. This is the spot where the calcium ions first rush in, the spark that ignites the entire beat. This pinpoint of light then flashes and spreads across the heart like a wave of light that becomes a wave of contraction, a wave of life. Fact 77. Your heart is the most connected organ in your body. It is in a constant, 2-way conversation with every other system. It responds to hormones from your glands, signals from your brain, pressure changes from your kidneys, and oxygen demands from your muscles. It is the great mediator, the central hub that listens to the needs of the entire community of your body and adjusts its rhythm to keep everything in perfect, quiet harmony. Fact 78. The heart is profoundly vulnerable to a lack of sleep. While the heart rests during deep sleep, a lack of deep sleep puts an immense strain on it. Without this restorative downtime, the heart remains in a state of heightened activity. Stress hormones stay high, blood pressure doesn't drop, and the heart is forced to work harder, for longer, without its necessary peace. A quiet, consistent night's sleep is not just for the mind. It is the most important gift you can give your heart. Fact 79. The heart brain and the head brain have a rhythm. They are not just connected, they are synchronized. When you are in a state of coherence, feeling calm, grateful, or compassionate, your heartbeat becomes a smooth, regular, wave-like rhythm. And your brain waves will, in turn, synchronize with that heart rhythm. The two brains begin to beat as one. This state of heart-brain coherence is when we feel our best, think most clearly, and are at our most peaceful. Fact 80. The heart's first job in the womb is not to pump blood, but to move fluid. In the first few weeks, there is no blood, only a simple fluid. The primitive heart tube's first, gentle pulses are just to stir this fluid, to move it around the tiny, developing embryo, ensuring that the first dividing cells get the nutrients they need. It is a gentle stirring, a quiet rocking of the cradle, that only later becomes a powerful, percussive pump. Fact 81. The apex beat is the heart's true, physical signature. When you place your hand on your chest, the distinct thump you feel is not the whole heart. It is the point of maximal impulse, or the apex beat. It is the physical tap of the heart's lowest, strongest point, the left ventricle, as it twists and contracts, bumping gently against the inside of your chest wall. It is a quiet, physical knock from the engine inside, letting you know it is still there, still working. Fact 82. The heart is wrapped in its own, private nerve network. While the vagus nerve is the great brake, the heart is also wrapped in a series of nerves called the cardiac plexus. This is a complex, web-like network that acts as the heart's own local switchboard, processing signals from the heart brain and the head brain, and fine-tuning the beat without having to consult the high command in your skull for every minor adjustment. Fact 83. The heart's lub-dub is a universal, ancestral sound. It is the first sound we ever hear. In the quiet of the womb, the one, constant, rhythmic presence is the sound of our mother's heartbeat, a deep, muffled, percussive whoosh-whoosh that is the soundtrack to our entire development. This is, perhaps, why deep, rhythmic, bass sounds are so universally calming. They are an echo of our very first home, a return to a time of perfect safety, cradled by the rhythm of a heart. Fact 84. The heart is a master of self-preservation. In a moment of extreme crisis, such as severe blood loss, the heart and brain work together to make a ruthless, life-saving decision. They trigger a massive constriction of all the blood vessels in the arms, legs, and skin, shutting them off from the main supply. This centralization of blood shunts the last, precious, oxygen-rich reserves to the two organs that cannot survive without it, the brain and the heart itself. It is the body's final, desperate act of survival. Fact 85. The heart's electrical wave is a perfect, orderly fall. The electrical signal of a heartbeat is a wave of depolarization, a domino effect of cells firing. But just as important is the repolarization, the resetting of the wave. This reset happens in the exact opposite direction of the firing. The last cells to get the signal are the first ones to reset. This perfect, orderly retreat ensures that the heart is fully reset and ready, and that the wave can never, ever travel backward. Fact 86. The heart's food arteries are tiny. The coronary arteries, which feed the entire, massive heart muscle, are surprisingly small. At their largest, they are no wider than a drinking straw, and they quickly branch into vessels as fine as a human hair. This is why they are so vulnerable. It takes very little to block one of these tiny, crucial pathways. The heart's entire life supply flows through a garden of incredibly delicate, narrow streams. Fact 87. The heart is, in a way, hollow. We think of it as a dense, solid muscle, but the heart is mostly empty space. The four chambers are simply open, fluid-filled caverns. The walls are the muscle. The heart is a set of thick, powerful, muscular walls, built around a core of empty, flowing space. Its power comes not from its solidity, but from the void it contains and the fluid it commands. Fact 88. The heart is a bridge between two worlds. It is the only organ that is a part of two separate, vital systems. The right side is a low-pressure, blue blood system, dedicated only to the lungs. The left side is a high-pressure, red blood system, dedicated to the body. These two systems are separated by a solid wall, the septum. They never mix. Your heart is two separate pumps, two separate worlds, fused together and beating as one. Fact 89. The beat of the heart is not a beat at all, but a twist. As we've learned, the heart rings itself out. This helical twist is the single most important and most sophisticated movement in the human body. It is a motion of profound and quiet genius, perfected over 1 billion years, to move the river of life with the least amount of effort and the greatest amount of grace. Fact 90. The heart is built to withstand a shock. The heart's own pacemaker, the SA node, is a tough, resilient cluster of cells. It is embedded in a small, dense pad of fibrous tissue, which helps to protect it from the physical jolts and pressures of a lifetime. It is a tiny, delicate clock, but it is housed in a tough, insulated, shock-resistant case. Fact 91. The heart has a front and a back. The front of the heart, the part that faces your breastbone, is mostly the right ventricle. The back of the heart, which rests against your esophagus and spine, is mostly the left atrium. This is why, in some cases, a heart condition can be seen on an X-ray of the esophagus, as the heart's back wall presses gently against it. Fact 92. The heart is a creature of habit. It thrives on rhythm and predictability. It learns the rhythm of your sleep, your meals, and your exercise. This is why a regular, gentle routine is so calming to the cardiovascular system. It allows the heart to anticipate the body's needs, rather than just react to them. It finds its groove, a steady, predictable, peaceful cadence. Fact 93. The heart's lub-dub is a sound of finality. It is the sound of doors clicking shut. The lub is the sound of the gates from the atria closing. The dub is the sound of the gates to the arteries closing. It is a sound of closure, a sound of containment, a sound that ensures the blood's journey is always forward, and never, ever backward. Fact 94. The heart is the quietest when it is strongest. A heart that is weak or struggling often has to beat very fast to get its job done. A heart that is strong, healthy, and well-conditioned is a heart that can afford to be slow. It is calm. It is quiet. It is efficient. True cardiovascular strength is not a frantic, rapid pulse. It is a slow, deep, steady, and quiet one. Fact 95. The heart's little brain is constantly sending more signals up to the head brain than it receives. The flow of information is not top-down. It is, in fact, bottom-up. The heart's 40,000 neurons are constantly sensing the body's hormonal and chemical state and sending this feeling information up the vagus nerve to the brain. This is the source of our gut feelings or our heart's intuition. It is the heart, telling the brain what it already knows. Fact 96. The heart's shape is not the Valentine shape. The classic heart shape is a gentle, artistic symbol. The real heart is a more complex, functional, and beautiful shape. It is an offset cone, a boot shape, with its top, the base, broad and wide, and its bottom, the apex, tapered to a dull point. It is a shape built not for romance, but for a perfect, powerful, helical twist. Fact 97. The heart is the only muscle that never, ever cramps. Your leg can cramp, your back can cramp, but your heart cannot. A cramp is a sustained, uncontrolled, painful contraction. The heart cells are designed to prevent this. After every single beat, every cell has a refractory period, a mandatory, built-in pause where it cannot be stimulated again. This tiny, forced rest between every beat is what makes a sustained cramp impossible, and what guarantees the heart's perfect, lifelong rhythm. Fact 98. The heart is the heaviest it will ever be at night. During the day, as we stand and walk, gravity pulls the fluids of our body downward, into our legs. When we lie down to sleep, this fluid is no longer held down by gravity. It slowly and gently redistributes, returning to the bloodstream. This slightly increases the volume of blood in our chest. The heart, in turn, gently and temporarily swells with this extra fluid, becoming slightly heavier as it works to manage this nightly, internal tide. Fact 90. The heart's true purpose is to create a single, unbroken wave. From the moment of its first beat to its last, the heart's job is to create one, continuous, steady, and uninterrupted flow of blood. The beat, the lub-dub, is just the method. The goal is the silent, steady, peaceful stream of life that it creates, a river that nourishes every cell, every thought, and every dream. Fact 100. The heart is, in the end, a vessel of peace. Its natural, healthy state is one of quiet, rhythmic coherence. It is a state of calm. It is only when it is pushed by stress, fear, or exertion that it leaves this state. But it always, always, seeks to return to it. The heart's baseline, its true home, is a slow, steady, and peaceful beat. It is the rhythm of deep sleep, of quiet meditation, and of perfect, restful calm. And now, there is nothing left to do but to listen. To feel that quiet, steady, ancient rhythm within your own chest. Let it be your anchor. Let it be the gentle wave that carries you, finally, into a deep and peaceful sleep. Good night.